Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Propagandacast Propaganda Review with me, your host, Pearl Lane. Something I haven't done in some time, but you know, did manage to receive some games through generous support or whatever you could call that here during the holidays. And I figure I'd get around to maybe reviewing some of them. And who knows, might review some other games as I got through the time. But anyways, we're looking at Ultimate General Civil War. Second game in the series made by a fellow who sort of worked on a lot of mods for Total War before he decided basically, screw this, I can make my own games much better than Creative Assembly. Basically, I think they're called the Darth Mods, and this is basically the second game in this series, which adds a bit more overall compared to some of the previous game, which just used a series of battles. This one's sort of more of a campaign where sort of you manage your armies, you sort of pass on. For example, here, you know, playing as the Union Army, First Corps got here, sort of assembly, you can sort of put together your own soldiers, equip them even. There's a lot of sort of going on. They can sort of see a lot of details. This is clearly a strategy game that sort of tries to be a bit more granular on some levels, you know, but at the same time gives the player some stuff to do. So in some ways it's an interesting game. Here you also got experience levels, can sort of give your units more benefits. You know, here again you sort of got a large battle map here when they sort of handle things. There's sort of messages there to sort of make you feel a bit better because they'll mention your name, blah blah blah, making you sort of seem like, oh, he's a real badass. Stuff like that. You sort of get a series of battles. Usually there's sort of a series of smaller battles. They can then affect the larger battle ahead here. In this case, you know, you've got Shiloh, the grand battle, and you can sort of then affect it by then completing other smaller battles like, you know, Logan's Crossing and River Crossing. So there are some benefits there for example completing battles like this. Or you could of course just go straight for the big one and not receive any benefits. Of course, also smaller benefits. You have resource to manage, money, personnel as well, by the way, and then you'll find you also get some reputation, which you can then sort of spend with the government, though you can only spend so much after each battle, but that can be more money, personnel, equipment, or officers, which of course has their own benefits. For example, here I could maybe replace this fellow at my gun battery there with someone perhaps a bit more experienced than just, you know, your average captain. In fact, let's just stuff a kernel on it just for the hell of it. So that's going to have its own benefits. You'll eventually be able to much faster get some perks out compared to the good captain. So those are, for example, some of the things you can do there. And again, this is just part of the game. Obviously, you can also play scenarios and all that. And of course, you can't get to the meat of the thing, which of course is the battles, the center of the game itself, essentially. It's actually an overview of this game, and in part, I suppose that's sort of it. I mean, it's just not a game that sort of really draws you in for a very long period of time. I mean, it's sort of in many ways very technically competent. It, you know, clearly sets out what it wants to do, achieves it, but at the same time, I think it has one particular issue, if you will, that it's just, it doesn't really sort of hook you in. Does not really hook you in. It sort of lacks, I think, a certain something. Long game again, you sort of drag around stuff here. You sort of have the battle set up here, sort of in sense typical of say even Total War games. You have some smaller neat things you can do. For example, your larger rifle brigades, and I can show that a bit there. For example, you can dispatch scouts from the skirmishers. You got artillery there. The one thing, for example, don't tell you is your artillery actually needs to get closer to really be effective, because then they'll fire shrapnel automatically. I mean, there's sort of a lot of smaller details like that, by the way, which the game does not. Also, for example, when you try to make these selection boxes, occasionally you sort of, I mean, moving the whole thing about can be a bit tricky at times, if you will. Yeah. There you go. That's getting up moving now as well. Artillery and officers also need to keep going here. So, I mean, you can also hear the pace is very slow. You can speed it up, but at the same time, it also makes other things a bit more erratic. And even just, you know, ordering them to just move fast, which is source. But even that is not frightfully fast. So in that regard, that's probably part of it. The game pacing can at times, you know, feel a bit so and so. I mean, again, it might just be me. And again, I'm not claiming again this is a bad game, but for me, this game isn't necessarily the long-term most exciting. Again, it just fails to grab me. I mean, in many ways, it's fun, though. I can see a lot of the game here having, you know, fun elements for certain people and all that. I mean, again, like if you really want to manage large armies or all this, you know, this game definitely offers a lot of it. And again, there are some exciting moments you sort of move about. Though again, the whole selection thing really bugs me at times. And you do get to, you know, pull off some neat tactics. You can, for example, detach skirmishers from your infantry brigades. That way, you can sort of create, you know, larger, well, sort of more tactically stuffing units there and whatnot. But I mean, ultimately, I just sort of long term, play some battles, have some fun, and then just forget about it because, I mean, once you've played some battles to an extent, you've kind of played them all. Like there's, in that sense, the game, I think, sort of long term lacks some tactical depth or opportunity or something. I can't quite put my finger on it. Always would obviously be much more sort of in detail with it, but the game lacks something. I think something that sort of, I think makes the game sort of more long term interesting and fun to play. And that, I think, sort of the big shame about the game, because it really has a lot going on for it, I think, but at the same time, at the core level, it's just, it falls short. And I really hate to say that, because, again, I mean, I always, I have enjoyed the game, but it also so quickly just end up going, well, do you actually want to play another battle? And the answer tends to be, well, not really, because they're very similar to most of the other battles. And again, then you sort of just hit the, well, might as well not play it. And that's sort of the thing why it's been taking some time here to focus on getting around doing a review of it, because, again, at least for me, it just sort of feels lacking. And again, not in the technical sense. I mean, it's got a lot of content, I suppose. You got some campaign missions, obviously, and they can easily take up an hour, at least half an hour to complete. So I mean, it's not like sort of in terms of raw content lack, but sort of what you can do with said content. I think that's sort of more where I think the game, at least for me, sort of falls a bit flat on its face. Hang on, Hawkins, you're not supposed to go there. So that's sort of how I would view it, if you will. Which again is, is a bit of a shame. I mean, again, it's not a bad game by any sort of measure. A weak game. It has a lot going on for it, and it's fun. I mean, audio-wise, it can also get a bit repetitive, since it's just the same few things being shouted over and over again. Then it's not exactly a lot of personalities of that. So in that regard, it does perhaps on the audio side feel a bit more perfunctory, and it it tends to be some game ups obviously sort of underestimate, actually plays a role. But I mean, just sort of, again, I mean, it's a fun game. You sort of find it for cheap. You can easily grab it, play yourself with it. If you're sort of hoping for the next big strategy game, though, Ultimate General Civil War is not gonna be it, I would say. But again, I mean, for its price, if you sort of get it decently, it's pretty fun. And again, for a lot of people, I think that's gonna matters. It's pretty fun, but it's sort of, I think, short-term fun, because again, it sort of in some way feel it lacks a certain depth in what you can do at times, at least for me. And also at times the pace, I feel, can feel awfully slackish, which again, also with the whole repetitive element, just at times make you sort of think, yeah, do I really want to commit, an hour or two to just, all of this at a really slow pace? And sometimes you just sort of, at least for me at least, a lot of the time the answer ends up being not particularly, no. And so that sort of ends up being the situation. Again, not a bad game. In many ways, I think a really solid game, but on a sort of core level, it does lack something. And that's, again, the sort of bit difficult, hard to say. Again, it's sort of, it lacks a certain spirit, something that, makes you want to really just sort of get into it. It sort of doesn't, drag you along, if you will, into it, sort of, shall we say, gameplay, if that makes sense. Like, if you sort of imagine each game to be a world and illusion, the game, I think, doesn't do a particularly good job of sort of making you believe in the illusion. I think that's sort of the way to put it. It's not a very good magician in some ways. I mean, again, in some ways it's a very competent magician. It can sort of technically do the tricks very well, but it doesn't make you believe in the tricks, if you will. It doesn't make you believe in the sort of the, performing the tricks. It's like, very, very sort of by the numbers magician, but with none of the flair, none of the creativity, and I think that sort of undercuts the game somewhat. But again, it's not exactly the most expensive game either. It's not $60 and whatnot. You can get on, for example, sale. I think you can sort of find yourself with a good time waster as a strategy game that sort of works on a lot more slower pace. For example, you have a lot of time to just waste. I mean, this game is pretty good, but again, I don't think not necessarily you want to sort of really, again, find myself playing a lot, sort of long term. So there you go. Ultimate General Civil War. Again, very functional game, but that's about it. You also got historical battles you can see. You can also do custom battles. So there's a bit there to choose from, if you will. So hopefully this Propaganda review has been a help for you. Maybe you sort of never heard about this game. Maybe you actually like, Civil War games and stuff like this, in which case, I mean, go yourself, knock you out. I mean, I'm saying I'm not going to stop you. But again, for a particular person like me, I find the game just... Again, it just doesn't grab me. It doesn't make me go, yeah, this is awesome. It makes me go, yeah, this is fun, and then I forget about it. So it's sort of, again, it sort of lacks something, at least in my opinion. But again, if you like Civil War games like this, great. I mean, knock yourself out. You'll have probably tons of fun, more fun than I ever will, which is great. And otherwise, if you're sort of thinking about it, you weren't sure about it, maybe this could sort of just sway you either way. But anyways, this is Imperial Lane signing off. If you like what I do, consider donating or pledging on Patreon, particularly if you want me to do more game reviews. Donation and Patreon pledges are really important so I can actually buy these games, because currently I can't really. So, I mean, consider doing that. Otherwise, I'll be off another time for another video. Cheers.